I'm going to break down my favorite villains from Disney Villainous up to the Despicable Plots expansion. Of the 18 villains, we're going to go from number 11 up to 18, and then my top 10 from 10 to 1. Time to find out who is number 11, Jafar. So I rank Jafar as number 11, and here's a little bit about him. So you have this here, he has a locked token, and something fun about him is it's a little bit of a puzzle. You have to open it with the scarab pendant, and then play the magic lamp, which unlocks the genie, hypnotize the genie, then get the magic lamp over to the Sultan's palace without the heroes taking it from you. As you can see Iago on the screen, Iago is helpful in getting the magic lamp over because he can move an item. But basically, his is a fun puzzle, but overall, there's a lot of villains I would rather be instead of Jafar, so that's why I put him at number 11 today. We'll slowly put them in the bottom as they go. For now, let's go on to number 12, Queen of Hearts. So the Queen of Hearts is one that is not my favorite to play, and I think a lot of that is based on how easy she is. Overall, every time that I have seen her played, it's been pretty easy to win. You have to get the card guards out, and then you have to convert them into wickets, and then you turn them on the side. Once you get 4 on the side, you can then take the shot, and it seems to me that most of the time you are able to win fairly easy with Queen of Hearts. And so what happens is, when we play as Queen of Hearts now, you get faded right off the bat because everybody that I play with knows how easy she is. And so it's not the most fun, plus Alice in Wonderland overall isn't my favorite Disney movie. So that's why she's at number 12, but overall I know that she can be fun as well, trying to figure out all the stuff. But that was my number 12 ranking. So now we're going to get on to number 13, the Evil Queen. So the Evil Queen is an interesting one because I feel like sometimes I like playing as her a lot more, and then other times I don't, which is why she falls this far back. So I'm going to explain a little bit. So she doesn't have a vanquish action with the brew poison, and then you have to play take a bite to get rid of the heroes. The thing that is my biggest pet peeve with all of it is this right here. Snow White gets +1 strength for every other hero in the realm. So if fading is light, then Evil Queen is really, really fun to play as, and you can win in a sneak attack really easily. But if you get faded moderate to hard, then it gets really, really difficult because it blocks everything. Obviously, you have a lock token, but then it all starts adding up to Snow White. And so she gets more and more, and then you have to have a take a bite for each hero you defeat. And so if you want to get rid of heroes to free up locations, or if you get the, I think it's Doc, where you have to defeat him before you defeat Snow White, it gets pretty difficult. So that's the reason that I put Evil Queen as number 13. And here we are with the rankings again. And now we will get on to number 14, Lady Tremaine. Now, Lady Tremaine's from the most recent pack, Despicable Plots. And as you can see here, there's a lot going on, which is one of the things that I am not the most fond of when playing as Lady Tremaine. One of the biggest hardships I have with Lady Tremaine is the fact that you have to get Drizella or Anastasia out before Ballgown, Drizella, or Anastasia. Because I'm sure many of you have played, and if you play as her and you get Ballgown, Drizella, and Ballgown, Anastasia early without the other ones, it's really difficult because you might have to discard one or just hold both of them until later in the game, which makes it hard to get the cards you need. So it's really hard when you have to get a card before another one, but that also leads to the puzzle aspect of it. So if you like those kind of things, then Lady Tremaine would be the perfect one for you. You have to unlock it with Invitation from the King, use the wedding bells when the Prince and Drizella are there, and of course you can't have any glass slippers in there. So if there are any glass slippers there, you got to get rid of them in order to win as Lady Tremaine. But that is the current ranking. We've got 11, 12, 13, and 14. So on to number 15, Ursula. So one of the main reasons I put Ursula up this high in my rankings is this right here, the locked location. Now, for those who haven't seen Ursula before, there's only one locked location on her, but it will shift back and forth between these two locations whenever you play Changed Form. And I don't know if it's the same for all of you. Let me know in the comments, but I personally don't like locked locations. And so with hers, there's literally no way to ever get rid of them. And so that can be a little bit hard when you always have a location that is locked. But when I've played as her, it is somewhat fun to try to get the binding contracts, move around, move the lock, and try to unlock the location you need. But again, having a locked location all the time is kind of a bummer. So that leads us to our current rankings. Now we're going to have 3 more, 16, 17, and 18, and then we'll get straight into the top 10. So number 16 is Cruella de Vil. Now, one of the hard things with Cruella de Vil that I've found, and again, this is a really good puzzle one if that's something you enjoy, is the fact that Jasper and Horace are the only allies. So if you have a lot of heroes and you need to get rid of them, it makes it a little bit hard. Especially because Jasper and Horace are the main ways you're going to be able to get the puppy tokens out and then collect them. So one thing, obviously, the fireplace poker helps with that to not get rid of them. But it's really hard when you have, like, if people fate you and block both activate abilities up here, then it kind of makes it so that their abilities are almost negligent or negligible, whatever the word is. But that's one of the reasons why Cruella de Vil is hard for me, is when you get blocked by the fates and they're the only allies, and so you have to use them to get rid of heroes, but then that's what you need for the puppies. But that being said, there are some other cards, I think, like the telephone or things like that help you get them back. And so, again, if you like a little bit more of a challenge, then Cruella de Vil is a perfect one for you to be able to use. So that's the current ranking, and we're getting down to my two least favorite. Let's see this right now. Number 17, Mother Gothel. So Mother Gothel, whenever I've played as her, it has been very, very difficult. But basically, Rapunzel moves closer to Corona every single turn, and if she's already there and can't move, then that's when you lose a trust. So all your hard-earned trust starts going out the window. One thing that I have seen is that the hairbrush is almost necessary in order to win. I know you can win without it, but for me, that seems like a really, really good way to be able to rack up some trust pretty fast. And then, of course, the Stabbing Brothers are really nice to help out with that. But right before we get on to number 18, my least favorite villain, let me know who you think it's going to be, or let me know who your least favorite villain to play as is. But let's get into number 18, the Horned King. Now, the Horned King for me, I think I might have just had a bad experience. And I'm definitely open to that idea because if you've watched the past ranking, a lot of the villains shifted spots, some from way back to very low in my rankings. So why do I not like the Horned King? It kind of leads up to this card right here. For me, with the Horned King, it's kind of hard when you have to get the Ancient Soldiers first and then turn them into the Cauldron Born one at a time. So sometimes, especially if you start getting Cauldron Born early in the game, they're going to stack up in your hand. And so I had the experience where I had, I think, 2 Cauldron Born at least in my hand, and this card came out and I had to discard my hand. It was either me or Caleb or whatever, but it was a mess when you are working so hard towards it and then that card just sets you back, which obviously if you don't have them in your hand, that can be really good. It can help you get to the cards before, but for me, that was a really, really hard scenario that came up, and so that's one of the reasons why Horned King is number 18. But again, I need to give it another shot and see if I can be able to pull it off and hopefully not get the I Believe in You card out. But those are my least favorites from 11 to 18. Before we get into my top 10, there's a link in the description of this video for a survey where you can rank the Disney villains. I'll discuss it more at the end of the video, but for now, let's get into my top 10. Number 10 right here with Scar. Now, one of the reasons why I like Scar, honestly, is because I like the Lion King. But basically with Scar, and he's also at 10, he's not someone that I vehemently oppose playing as, but he's also not some of my first picks. So that's why he's kind of in the middle here. But basically, you have to try to get all of these allies out to help defeat the heroes. Something that can be really hard that I've seen is the Rafiki stick, and I've heard horror experiences of people getting the Rafiki stick played on Mufasa and things like that. And so it can be a little bit difficult, but it's also kind of a fun challenge to put the Hungry Hyenas all on one location and get them super powerful to take out the heroes. So that was my number 10, and we are going to get on to number 9, Yzma. So Yzma, she is really fun because of all the cards. I put on some of the funny quotes. Smash with a hammer, path of righteousness, the path that rocks, cruel irony, beware the groove, wrong lever. There's so many good quotes from Emperor's New Groove, and they're all incorporated so well into Yzma's. And she's kind of in the middle for me. If her playing style was a little bit more to my liking, she'd probably be lower because of how good the cards are. But that's why she's at a number 9 for me. These 4 piles up here make it a little bit more complex, especially for beginners, but you can also use that to your favor when playing as Yzma, because if not everybody who you're playing against knows how she works, you can use that to your advantage to come up with a sneak attack win. This leads to where we are at the ranking with Yzma at number 9. Now, number 8, we have Pete. So Pete is very, very fun because of the 4 goals you can get. The 4 goals are going to be upside down, and they come at random. So your opponents know what they could be, but they don't know for sure unless obviously fate cards come out that allow you to reveal it. But something that's really fun with Pete as well is you can add these items and they give you extra actions you can take at those locations. And that's always fun to have new actions that you can be able to take. And so that's one of the reasons why Pete's down there. He's on the fairly easy side to win with, which is fun if you're wanting a quick win. And so that is where Pete is number 8. Let's get into number 7, Gaston. So he definitely is my favorite of the new Despicable Plots pack. And so with him, you have to get rid of all 8 obstacles. And there's some pretty fun things that you can do with that. As you can see here, I've included the 2 cards that if you play them right, you could potentially get rid of 5 out of the 8 obstacles in just one turn. Now, that would be very difficult to do because as you can see, there's the 8 power here, and there's no 3 power action on Gaston's board. So it's difficult to get power with him, but if you can pull it off right, it can be really fun to pull something off like that and do kind of a sneak attack victory because as you see, it's only remove all 8 obstacles. And that's something that I love with the villains is when it doesn't have the start your turn with this in order to win, because then it makes it so that you can pull off those sneak attack victories, which are my favorite to do. Okay, we are coming down to the bottom 6. So on to number 6, Ratigan. Now, speaking of sneak attack victories, that's where this is a really fun one for me. It's a really intriguing and challenging one, especially the understanding part of it, because his objective can switch in the middle. And so one of my favorite things to do is to get the Robot Queen out fast and then try to get her over, because obviously if you get her over, then you can win the game. But if you get the Robot Queen out, you can also bait out Basil. And then if Basil gets rid of the Robot Queen, then now he's out, and all you have to do is defeat Basil. And so if you do things like bring out the cat, which I think her name is Felicia, if I'm right, you can bring that out and help defeat Basil really quickly, get a sneak attack victory, which are my favorite. And so that's why Ratigan is number 6 for me. Okay, we are now getting into the top 5. Let's see who number 5 is right now. Prince John. I used to not like playing him as much because it was really hard. Like, you have to focus so much on the power that you're not able to focus on buying the cool cards and triggering the cool abilities. Or at least I thought. But then when I played him more recently, I realized how fun the warrants were. Because you have 3 warrants, and if you can successfully put them all here, then it dissuades them from playing Fates on you. And if they do play a Fate on you, then you'll gain power, or they'll be put in the jail, and so they're not as hard against you. So it's really fun trying to figure out the balance. Something that's really difficult about Prince John is obviously his is a very visible character to see where you are on your path to your objective. If they can count how many you have, then they know how close you are to 20. And again, you have to start your turn with it. So it's a little bit hard when you have that 20 and then somebody takes it away right before your turn. That's a really big bummer. But now we are on to the bottom 4, Hades. So I put Hades here. And one of my favorite cards in his deck is definitely the Chariot. It allows you to, once per turn, if you're at that location, you can move Hades in the Chariot to another location and perform an action at that location. It's really fun to get that extra action, and also can be used for something like if you had the Chariot here, you can move yourself with the Chariot and then come back here on your next turn, which is a really fun way to get that extra power and those 2 actions at that location. So you're going to try to get the Titans over. It's a very visible one as well. People can see it. And Hercules and Zeus are the ones that are really good at stopping Hades, but there are ways around it. And so it's really fun trying to just figure out that puzzle of how to get Hades to pass all of them. Bottom 3, let's see who's next. We've got Maleficent. Okay, so Maleficent is one that I honestly, I think if you look back at the old ranking, my 15 villain ranking, I think she was number 12. I put her so high up because I think it was mostly because I hadn't played as her, and I'd seen horror experiences where my sister-in-law would always choose Maleficent, and then she would get up to 4, and then we'd take them all away, and it was really sad. And so I didn't want that to happen to me because I knew that that was a very visible thing, and so people would attack you. But in playing it, I was able to see that you could get 2 of them out, and then before they know it, you can get the other 2 out in one turn, and then pull off that sneak attack victory. So yes, they can fate you, but hopefully it will stand up for the next round. Also, the Raven, like the Chariot, is so good. You can move the Raven and perform an available action at his new location, which is so nice to be able to do, because then you get that extra action in there, and it makes it so much easier to be able to get everything done that you need to. Okay, we are down to the final 2, Captain Hook and Dr. Facilier. And if you remember right, Captain Hook and Dr. Facilier were my top 2 before, so that has not changed. Now it's time to find out who is number 2, Captain Hook. Captain Hook is very fun. So first of all, Peter Pan has to be immediately played when he is revealed, which can be fun because sometimes people will not want to fate you because they don't want to get Peter Pan, which can be nice, but also if they do fate you, they help get Peter Pan. So it's a double-edged sword that is actually good. It's helpful. And then, as you can see here, like Pete, there are extra cards that you can be able to play, and they will allow you to be able to get extra actions that you can take at those specific locations, which is really, really nice. And then right here, this is by far one of my favorite strategies with Captain Hook, is just to fill all of the allies over at that end. And then once you get Peter Pan over, you can defeat him really fast. And so it makes it a game of just trying to get out the Neverland map to unlock it, and then get Peter Pan out and move him because you've already had all of those allies there waiting for him to come. It's not hard to see here who is going to be number 1, so we'll get straight into it. Dr. Facilier. If I had to choose to play a game of Villainous, my number 1 pick would definitely be Dr. Facilier. I love everything about how his works. I love that you are able to get everything in a fun way, and you have to get the talisman out and rule New Orleans, but you can pull it off to where you can play one of them, and then you can play the other with cards will tell if you still have that 2 play a card action open, and you're able to then get them out in kind of a sneak attack way, which I've been talking about a lot. But basically, when you get Rule New Orleans into here and then play the cards will tell, you look through 3 of the cards, and then if Rule New Orleans is there, you're going to win the game, unless there's that 1 card in there that says you don't. But his is very fun, and that's my full ranking, and I want to hear about your ranking, which you can do in the survey in the description down below. And since we'll have to do another ranking to include the bigger and badder villains, this will give you a chance to share your ranking and see how it stacks up against other people's rankings. If you haven't played as all the villains, don't worry, just fill out the ones you know. And if you know someone who likes Disney Villainous, consider sharing the survey with them so that they can participate as well. Special thanks to Remco for suggesting this in one of our live streams. Hope you have a great day.